Have you ever stopped to think about the quiet tech revolution that's happening in healthcare, like behind the scenes?
Yeah, the stuff we don't always see.
Exactly. We're talking about these crucial medical tools, especially for, maternal and fetal health, that are evolving incredibly fast. It's actually a market showing some really fascinating shifts. So today we're doing a deep dive into this report. It's called the Gyneco-Obstetrical Ultrasound Systems Market Report Global Edition 2025.
Like,
And look, this isn't just some dry financial document. It gives a really revealing look at how these vital diagnostic devices are performing, the revenue trends, and importantly, the growth projections. It covers the period from 2021 all the way out to 2033.
and just to be clear for everyone listening, we're talking about those imaging systems, the ones used during pregnancy to monitor the baby, check for any issues, keep an eye on the mother's health.
Yeah, everything from like those portable units you might find in a remote clinic, all the way up to the really advanced 3D, 4D systems in big hospitals.
Exactly. And our mission, really, for you today, is to kind of cut through all that dense data.
Hmm.
We want to pull out the most important bits, the key takeaways from this report.
Sort of a shortcut.
Think of it like that, yeah. Your shortcut to understanding not just what the numbers are, but what they actually mean for healthcare innovation, for access around the world, and, for global health equity, too. We'll unpack the what's of this market growth and, crucially, try to explore the why behind it all.
Okay, let's get into it. What makes this really compelling, I think, is the global view it takes. This report looks at all the major regions, loads of individual countries too, and it gives us these compound annual growth rates, the CAGRs, which basically tell us how quickly these markets are expanding each year on average. And trust me, you're going to be surprised by some of the shifts we're seeing globally. So first up, let's zoom out. Let's look at the big picture, the global market. It's not just growing steadily. The report describes it as a remarkable expansion.
Yeah, the overall trajectory is really striking. Globally, this market for gyno-ob ultrasound systems, back in 2021, it was valued at roughly $2.66 billion.
Okay, 2.66 billion.
And it's projected to climb pretty significantly, hitting over $3.38 billion by 2025. And then looking further out to 2033, we're talking almost $5.5 billion. So a huge jump.
Wow, that's almost double over that period.
It is, and this works out to a robust global CAGR, that compound growth rate of about 6.2%.
6.2% globally. That kind of sustained growth, it really signals a fundamental and widespread need for these technologies, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
So what does this tell you right off the bat? Well, it's a clear sign these systems are becoming even more critical, and the demand is just consistently rising pretty much everywhere. Okay, now let's bring it a bit closer to home for many of us listening. Let's start with North America and then maybe jump over to Europe. These are often seen as, the established markets, maybe more mature.
Right, the developed economies.
But even here, the report shows some interesting stuff happening, some unexpected acceleration in places.
Definitely. So in North America, the market generated about, $769 million back in 2021.
Okay.
And it's forecasted to reach nearly $974 million by 2025, projecting out to over $1.5 billion by 2033.
Right.
So that translates to a solid regional KGR of about 5.6%.
Yeah.
So yes, a developed market, but that growth is still very healthy,
Absolutely. Very healthy. And within that, the U.S., as you'd kind of expect, it dominates. Its market value is set to rise from just under $600 million in 2021 to well over $1.1 billion by 2033. That's growing at a steady 5.4% CAGR.
Makes sense.
But here's where it gets really interesting, I thought. Canada and Mexico are actually showing more dynamic growth. Canada is projected at an impressive 6.5% CAGR.
Wow.
Yeah, that's more than doubling its market size from about $89 million to $190 million over that whole period. And Mexico is right there with it at a 6.1% CAGR, growing from $81 million up to $166 million.
That's significant.
It really suggests that even in a region with, pretty established healthcare, there's still major investment going into expanding and upgrading these crucial services.
That's a great point. Okay, let's hop across the Atlantic to Europe. This market was valued at almost $498 million in 2021.
Okay.
Estimated to climb to over $628 million in 2025 and projected to reach nearly $978 million by 2033. That gives it a KGR of about 5.7%.
So very similar to North America overall.
Very similar overall rate, yeah.
Yeah.
Again, healthy growth for a mature continent. But the story gets kind of richer when you drill down to the individual countries.
It really does. You see this clear split in Europe. Like you take the UK and Germany. They're showing steady, pretty substantial growth, both hovering just under 4.9% CAGR.
Right.
So the UK market grows from about 64 million to 117 million, and Germany from 80 million to 147 million dollars by 2033.
Yeah.
But then you look at France and Italy, they seem to be really accelerating. France is showing a strong 6.9% CAGR, growing its market from 61 million up to 133 million dollars. And Italy's close behind at 6.2% CAGR, expanding from 38 million to 80 million.
It's fascinating, isn't it? How even within, like, similar economic blocks, different national healthcare priorities, or maybe adoption rates can lead to such different results.
Yeah, that variation is key.
And other countries like Russia, Spain, even smaller ones like Luxembourg, they're seeing solid growth too, just maybe more moderate, sort of in the 3.4 to 5% range. Scandinavia seems a bit slower, Sweden and Denmark under 3%, Switzerland just under 4%.
But what's particularly noteworthy in Europe, I think, is that rest of Europe segment.
Ah, yes.
This collection of, various other markets, it's actually surging. It has the highest regional growth rate in Europe at an impressive 7.27% CAGR.
7.3% almost.
Exactly, projecting from about 103 million back in 2021 to over 237 million by 2033. That really does raise a question, doesn't it? Like, what's driving such different growth rates? You've got some big economies showing steady progress, others accelerating, and then this group of smaller markets really taking off.
It suggests a mix of factors, right? Could be targeted healthcare investments, maybe specific public health initiatives kicking in.
Yeah.
It's complex.
Okay, let's shift gears now and head over to Asia Pacific. This region, according to the report, is just a powerhouse of really robust growth in this market.
Oh, absolutely. Asia Pacific isn't just growing, it's huge and it's dynamic. It stood at over $1 billion back in 2021.
Wow.
Reaching over $1.35 billion by 2025. And it's projected to soar, really soar, to an incredible $2.26 billion by 2033. That's growing at a powerful 6.6% CAGR overall.
So that makes it the largest regional market then?
Yes, both in current size and, looking at future potential, it's massive.
And within that massive region, the individual country stories are just as compelling, aren't they? China, obviously, contributes the biggest share. It's got a significant 6.25% CAGR, more than doubling its market size from $325 million to over $652 million by 2033. Japan also sees substantial growth, 6.23% CAGR, growing from about $242 million to $481 million. But India's a real standout, rapid expansion there with a strong 7.76% CAGR.
7.8% almost, yeah.
Growing from $148 million to over $356 million in the same time frame. I mean, that points to a massive increase in healthcare infrastructure and access in a country with, well, a huge population needing it.
And that high growth story in Asia Pacific, it doesn't stop there. You mentioned standouts. Look at Singapore. It's surging with the highest regional growth rate, an incredible 8.26% CAGR.
8.3.
Yeah. Expanding from about $35 million to over $85 million. And Southeast Asia as a whole block follows very closely with a 7.76% CAGR, same as India, basically.
Nearly tripling its market.
Pretty much. From 113 million to over 264 million. You see this broad, really accelerated expansion across so many different economies. It just highlights this profound commitment, it seems, to improving maternal and fetal health across the whole region, probably driven by economic development and significant healthcare investments. South Korea solid too at 5.6%. Australia a bit slower, around 2.8%. Taiwan at 4.4%.
Okay, let's turn our attention now to South America, another region that's showing a really impressive surge in adopting these ultrasound systems.
Right. This market, okay, it's smaller in absolute dollar terms compared to Asia Pacific or North America, but it's a really clear indicator of emerging growth potential. It was valued at about $175 million in 2021.
Okay.
And it's projected to reach nearly $400 million by 2033. That comes out to a remarkably solid 7.31% CAGR for the region.
So that's a higher overall growth rate than North America and Europe.
Exactly, which signals a significant shift, in where the momentum is.
And drilling down into South America, Brazil leads the way in market size, growing from about $63 million to $140 million with a strong 6.9% CAGR.
Yeah.
But what really jumps out are Argentina and Colombia,
Yeah, those numbers are striking.
Both showing incredibly high growth rates, over 8% TAGR each. Argentina is projected to more than double its market, from roughly $23 million to nearly $56 million. And Colombia is similar, going from $14.6 million to over $35 million by 2033.
Wow.
That kind of explosive growth. It really suggests substantial new investment in healthcare infrastructure, doesn't it? And a real push for better diagnostic tools in those countries. Peru and Chile show more moderate growth, around 5.3% and 4.8% respectively.
It does. And that rest of South America segment is also showing robust growth, over 7.6% CAGR. So it indicates this isn't just, one or two countries, but a broader regional trend. And if you think about the overarching trends we've been discussing, these numbers from South America, they fit perfectly into that narrative, right? Emerging economies actively prioritizing and investing in advanced healthcare tech, especially things like ultrasound that are critical for public health and maternal care.
Absolutely. Okay, and now for the region with what the report calls the most astonishing growth rate globally. We're talking about Africa.
Yeah, this is the real standout when you connect this to the bigger picture, like global health equity and emerging economies. Africa just leaps off the page. The market generated about $55.9 million in 2021. Seems small, maybe.
Relatively, yeah.
But it's projected to expand dramatically to over $153 million by 2033. And that marks the highest regional CAGR globally. Get this. An astounding 9.36%.
9.4%. That is incredible. It's such a powerful sign of, hopefully, vastly increased healthcare investment and access on a continent where, let's face it, it's desperately needed.
I would agree more.
And this expansion, it's driven by significant contributions across the continent. Nigeria, for instance, is projected to grow its market from about $11 million to nearly $30 million. That's a strong 9% CAGR. South Africa is very similar, growing from roughly $20 million to $53.5 million, also with a 9% CAGR. But here's the real kicker, almost an outlier, even within this high-growth region, the rest of Africa segment.
Right.
This collection of diverse nations. It's projected to hit nearly $70.3 million by 2033, starting from just $24.7 million in 2021. That represents a staggering 9.78% CAGR.
Almost 10%.
Almost 10%. That is the fastest growth rate among all regions and segments worldwide. It just underscores this fundamental shift in healthcare priorities, in infrastructure development, even in places that maybe weren't traditionally seen as major medical tech markets.
And that exponential growth, especially in that rest of Africa catch-all segment, it really raises a critical question, doesn't it? What specific factors are driving such rapid, widespread adoption there?
Yeah, what's behind it?
Well, it likely points to a combination of things, international aid, maybe national health programs, really focusing on reducing maternal mortality, plus the increasing availability of more affordable, maybe more portable ultrasound systems.
Making it accessible.
Exactly. Making the technology accessible in areas that were previously completely underserved. It's really a story about expanding access, fundamentally.
Okay, finally, let's just briefly touch upon the Middle East. This is a region showing more steady, consistent progression in this market.
Right. The Middle East market was about $101 million back in 2021.
Okay. And
it's projected to reach nearly $169 million by 2033. So that's growing at a more moderate but very consistent 3.89% CAGR. Just under 4%.
So a stable upward trend, but maybe not at the same pace as some of those really explosive emerging markets we just talked about.
Exactly. It indicates a different kind of market maturity, perhaps.
And within the Middle East, we see a bit of a range in growth rates, too. Saudi Arabia holds the largest share, growing from about $37 million to $60 million. That's at a 3.6% CAGR. Turkey's around 3.4% CAGR, growing from 13 million to almost 21 million. The UAE actually shows a slightly stronger rate, almost 5% CAGR, expanding from 10 million to 18.5 million. Egypt and Qatar also show steady growth, sort of in the 3.4 to 4.4% range. And the rest of the Middle East segment contributes too, with a solid 4% AGR.
Right.
So yeah, while it's not the fastest growing region overall, it's definitely a market that's clearly integrating these essential systems into its healthcare framework, just at a consistent, steady pace.
So if we try and tie all these different regional numbers and trends together, connect all these data points back to the bigger picture, the report's summary really crystallizes a clear trend. It talks about, quote, remarkable expansion with significant growth observed particularly in Asia-Pacific, South America, and Africa. And the core drivers. They're unequivocally identified as, quote, emerging economies, coupled with rising healthcare investments.
So it's not just about selling more machines.
Not at all. It's
No.
about this global reorientation towards better health outcomes, particularly maternal and fetal health. And these ultrasound systems, they're right at the forefront of that important shift.
So what does all this actually mean for you listening, whether you're, working in healthcare, maybe investing in medical technology, or maybe you're just interested in global development trends? What's the takeaway?
Well,
It means that access to this critical gynob care, the kind facilitated by these potentially life-saving ultrasound systems, it's expanding rapidly. And significantly, it's expanding fastest in the parts of the world where it's arguably most needed,
right.
where it can make the most profound difference. This report really gives us a fascinating snapshot of global healthcare evolution in action. It shows us where resources are flowing and where significant improvements in maternal and prenatal care seem to be genuinely on the horizon. It feels like a testament, maybe, to health becoming a higher priority on a truly global scale. Okay, so just to quickly recap our deep dive into this gyneco-obstetrical ultrasound systems market report, we've uncovered this really impressive global market that's set for truly remarkable expansion, projected to more than double in size by 2033.
Right. Big growth.
But that growth isn't uniform, is it? It's especially dynamic in Asia-Pacific, South America, and, most astonishingly, in Africa. That's where emerging economies and rising healthcare investments are really pouring fuel on the fire, so to speak.
Yeah, those regions are key.
And we've seen how even the mature markets, like North America and Europe, still have pockets of accelerated adoption, while many developing regions are making these huge strides in integrating crucial medical technology.
And we really hope this deep dive has given you a valuable shortcut, a clear path to understanding the critical trends shaping this specific market. Our aim was really to provide those aha moments, to get behind the raw numbers and grasp their real-world significance, see where healthcare tech is genuinely making an impact.
Exactly. And as we see this incredible expansion, especially in those emerging economies and regions that were previously underserved, it does leave us with a pretty important question, I think, for you to ponder. How will this surge in access to essential ultrasound technology actually redefine the future of maternal and prenatal care globally?
That's a big question.
It is. Like, what new opportunities might pop up for innovative ways to deliver care? And on the flip side, what new challenges might this rapid technological adoption bring to healthcare systems that are already diverse and maybe stretched, in the years to come? It's a complex, evolving picture, isn't it?
It certainly is, and one we'll undoubtedly keep watching.